The story begins in a small, dusty frontier town where gossip travels faster than the wind through the prairie. The town is known for its rough edges and sharper tongues, a place where reputations can be built or ruined in a single afternoon. Here lives a rugged cowboy, a man whose life has been shaped by long days on the ranch, tending to cattle and navigating the unpredictable nature of the wild. He is strong, skilled, and respected for his work, but few know the depths of his heart, for he keeps it guarded, hidden beneath a gruff exterior. Into this landscape of wide-open skies and narrow social constraints comes the spark of conflict. The townspeople, known for their cruel humor and petty games, devise a prank that they believe will humble the cowboy and entertain themselves. They plot to present him with a bride who is paralyzed, assuming that such a union would be impossible, humiliating, and subject to ridicule. In their minds, it is a harmless joke, a spectacle of discomfort and social embarrassment. They are unaware, however, that cruelty often seeds a story far richer than mockery. The bride herself is introduced with an air of mystery and quiet grace. She is not merely a victim of circumstance, but a woman with her own inner strength. Though paralyzed from the waist down, she carries herself with dignity and intelligence, with eyes that reveal a sharp mind and a quiet resilience. Life has not been easy for her. Isolation and misunderstanding have been her constant companions. Yet beneath the surface, there is a spark that refuses to be extinguished, a longing for genuine connection and freedom, even within the constraints of her body. The stage is set on the day of the ceremony. The townspeople gather at the small chapel, their laughter and whispered comments filling the air, expecting to witness humiliation. They see the cowboy arriving in his worn boots and weathered hat, a man accustomed to the roughness of life but unprepared for the spectacle orchestrated in his name. Their eyes are gleaming with anticipation for the embarrassment they believe will unfold. They do not consider, however, that the human spirit is unpredictable and that even in adversity, courage can emerge. As the cowboy sees the bride for the first time, he feels a mix of shock, confusion, and perhaps a flicker of empathy. The town expects him to react with disgust or anger, yet he remains composed, observing the situation with a calm intensity. In that moment, the first threads of connection begin to form. He notices not weakness, but a quiet dignity in the way she holds herself, in the resilience that seems to emanate from her even as she sits confined in her chair. The town's cruel laughter clashes sharply with the profound potential of what might unfold between them, a story of compassion, strength, and transformation that no one could have predicted. The setup also establishes the key tension, the cowboy versus the townspeople's expectations. It is a test of character, patience, and perspective. The scene highlights themes of judgment, prejudice, and the human capacity to rise above cruelty. While the town anticipates failure and humiliation, the seeds of an extraordinary story are planted, one in which a man's steadfastness and a woman's inner strength will challenge societal norms, redefine courage, and ultimately transform a cruel joke into a tale of empowerment, love, and resilience. By the end the reader is fully immersed in the world, introduced to the central characters, and aware of the stakes. The tension is palpable. The prank has been set in motion, but the outcome remains unknown. The scene subtly foreshadows the journey ahead, hinting at how the cowboy's character and the bride's hidden strength will intersect to challenge expectations and elevate both of them far beyond what the town or the reader might anticipate. After the unsettling spectacle at the chapel, the cowboy escorts his new bride to the ranch. The townspeople linger at the edges, their whispers sharp as prairie grass in the wind, expecting him to falter, expecting her presence to be a weight too heavy to bear. But the cowboy remains silent, resolute in his steps, his mind already working through the logistics of life ahead. The ride back is long, the landscape vast and untamed, stretching with rolling hills, sagebrush, and the distant outline of mountains. In the quiet between them, the initial tension of the day begins to settle into something more tangible: curiosity. Upon arriving at the ranch, the cowboy surveys the home that has been his domain, a place where he is master of the land, the animals, and the rhythms of daily survival. Yet this arrival marks the first time he feels a sense of responsibility for someone entirely dependent on him. The bride is carefully transferred from the wagon to the main room, the servants and ranch hands quietly observing. She moves with the help of a wheelchair, her eyes scanning her surroundings with both wariness and a hint of intrigue. The ranch, familiar and grounding to the cowboy, feels strange and confining to her. But she is resilient, masking the fear and uncertainty that might show weakness in the eyes of others. This moment establishes the emotional distance and the subtle tension between them. He is cautious, respectful, and deliberate in his actions, knowing the townspeople expect disaster. She is observant, measuring his reactions, trying to understand if he is a man who will truly see her for who she is, or merely as the subject of a cruel joke. Their first interactions are tentative. Conversation is sparse, filled with politeness and careful phrasing. Neither fully trusts the other yet, and both are acutely aware of the scrutinizing eyes of the outside world. The cowboy's initial attempts at hospitality reveal his character. He offers her a room adapted to her needs, arranges meals to her preference, and quietly plans adjustments to the ranch to accommodate her mobility. His actions, though understated, demonstrate competence and a burgeoning empathy. The bride notices these small gestures, her eyes occasionally softening, her skepticism mingling with a cautious appreciation. For the first time in her life, someone is treating her not as fragile or pitiable, but as a person deserving dignity and care. Despite the quiet growth of mutual respect, the townspeople's shadow looms large. News of their arrival spreads quickly through the town, and some visitors come to witness the joke, expecting to see humiliation or failure. The bride feels the weight of scrutiny, her body already betraying her vulnerability, and the cowboy senses the tension, protective instincts kicking in. The arrival is more than a physical transition, it is a psychological battlefield. Every glance, every word, carries judgment or expectation, and both must navigate the delicate balance of pride, patience, and trust. The arrival also sets the stage for the central arc of the story: transformation through adversity. The ranch becomes a crucible where both will learn, grow, and redefine themselves. The cowboy must confront the challenges of caregiving, leadership, and emotional openness. The bride must confront limitations imposed by her body, societal expectations, and her own doubts. The seeds of connection, mutual respect, subtle admiration, and the quiet recognition of strength in one another begin to take root here, laying the foundation for the extraordinary bond that will define the narrative. By the end the reader witnesses the first sparks of empathy and understanding. The bride and cowboy are in close proximity, the physical and emotional challenges ahead clearly foreshadowed. The stage life at the ranch begins to reveal the depth of the challenge the cowboy and his bride will face. Though the bride arrived with quiet dignity, the reality of her paralysis quickly becomes apparent. Simple tasks that most take for granted, moving around the house, reaching for objects, attending to personal needs, require careful planning and patience. For the cowboy, who has spent years relying on his own strength and independence, this new responsibility is unfamiliar territory. The ranch, once a symbol of freedom and control, now becomes a testing ground for empathy, perseverance, and ingenuity. The first struggle emerges in the everyday routines. The cowboy attempts to assist her in moving from the wheelchair to the bed, and even this small act proves physically demanding. He realizes that strength alone is not enough. He must learn precision, balance, and timing to ensure her safety. At the same time, he senses the emotional strain, the bride's frustration at her own limitations, her embarrassment over dependence, and the subtle fear of failure or disappointment. These feelings are compounded by the ever-present judgment of the townspeople, who continue to gossip about the so-called humiliation the cowboy faces. Despite the strain, small victories begin to surface. The cowboy devises ways to adapt the ranch to her needs, ramps for easier movement, modified furniture, and tools to make daily tasks more accessible. Each adjustment requires creativity, problem-solving, and careful observation. The bride, initially passive and cautious, starts to participate in these solutions, offering suggestions and demonstrating a sharp intelligence that surprises him. Their collaboration, born out of necessity, begins to foster mutual respect and a tentative sense of partnership. Emotionally, the first struggle is just as profound as the physical one. The bride battles feelings of vulnerability and fear, worried that her condition will define her and that she will never be more than the subject of the town as cruel joke. Meanwhile, the cowboy wrestles with societal expectations and his own doubts. Pride and tradition have taught him that strength is physical and independence is paramount. But he begins to understand that true courage also lies in patience, compassion, and the willingness to confront challenges that cannot be overcome by force alone. Tensions flare at times. Misunderstandings arise as the bride attempts to assert her autonomy, sometimes resisting his help out of pride or frustration. The cowboy, though patient, struggles with moments of self-doubt, wondering if he is capable of meeting her needs or if he is overstepping. These conflicts are natural, human, and essential. They deepen the character's emotional layers and highlight the stakes of their journey. Every challenge becomes a lesson in trust, communication, and resilience. A pivotal moment in this stage occurs when the bride tries something seemingly impossible, a small act of independence, like reaching for an item on her own or attempting to roll her wheelchair over uneven terrain. She falters, and the cowboy instinctively catches her, steadying her and offering reassurance. This moment crystallizes the evolving bond between them. It is not pity or charity that drives him, but respect and care. She, in turn, begins to recognize that her limitations do not diminish her worth. Instead, they reveal the strength of a partner willing to rise to meet her challenges. By the end, the reader understands that the story is no longer about a cruel prank, but about transformation and growth. The first struggle has tested them both physically, emotionally, and socially, and laid the foundation for a deeper connection. The ranch, once a symbol of the cowboy's solitary strength, now becomes a stage for resilience, cooperation, and the early blossoming of trust and love. The townspeople may still doubt them, but the seeds of a remarkable partnership have been sown, promising that what begins as a challenge will evolve into a story of triumph, empowerment, and unexpected beauty. As days turn into weeks at the ranch, the cowboy and his bride begin to navigate life together in ways neither could have anticipated. What started as a precarious arrangement, born from a cruel joke and societal expectations, slowly evolves into a genuine partnership, strengthened by shared trials and quiet moments of understanding. Their bond, initially tentative and cautious, begins to deepen as they face the ordinary and extraordinary challenges of frontier life together. The first stage of bonding emerges through the routines of ranch work. The cowboy shows the bride how to handle certain aspects of ranch life safely despite her limitations. He designs a system of pulleys and straps that allows her to assist in feeding the animals or managing supplies. These practical solutions not only give her a sense of purpose, but also teach the cowboy patience, ingenuity, and humility. He learns that strength alone cannot solve every problem. Empathy, observation, and careful adaptation are equally essential. Meanwhile, the bride, initially hesitant to engage, discovers joy in small accomplishments, her confidence growing as she realizes that her contributions are meaningful. Their evenings together reveal another layer of connection. Around the fire, they share stories of their pasts, fears, and dreams. The bride speaks of a life once confined by both circumstance and doubt, of moments when she felt invisible or powerless. The cowboy listens, not with pity, but with genuine interest and compassion, offering insights into his own struggles, loss, solitude, and the harsh realities of frontier life. In these moments, humor and quiet laughter emerge, dissolving walls of mistrust and opening the way for authentic intimacy. These shared confidences transform them from reluctant companions into allies, each discovering the unexpected depth of the other's character. Nature itself becomes a teacher and catalyst for bonding. They experience the harsh storms, scorching sun, and sudden dangers of the wilderness together. When a runaway calf or a broken fence tests their coordination, they must rely on trust and teamwork. The cowboy adapts techniques to include her safely, while the bride develops keen observational skills, anticipating problems and offering solutions. Each successful navigation of adversity strengthens their partnership, proving that the combination of courage, intellect, and resilience is more powerful than physical strength alone. The townspeople's scrutiny still lingers in the background, but it begins to lose its sting. As neighbors and visitors witness the growing competence and confidence of the bride, the laughter and whispers fade into reluctant admiration. The cowboy and bride, initially objects of curiosity and mockery, become symbols of perseverance and dignity. Their relationship is no longer defined by the cruelty of others, but by the determination and ingenuity they show in overcoming daily obstacles together. Bonding also occurs in the quiet, unassuming gestures of care. The cowboy learns how to lift her with ease, adjusting his grip to provide both support and comfort without undermining her independence. She, in turn, learns to trust him, letting go of the instinct to control every situation. These small, repeated acts of mutual respect cultivate an unspoken intimacy that transcends words. They begin to anticipate each other's needs, communicate through subtle cues, and develop a rhythm that makes even the most challenging tasks feel manageable. By the end of, the initial awkwardness, fear, and skepticism have transformed into a partnership founded on trust. Just as the cowboy and his bride begin to settle into a fragile rhythm of trust and partnership, the past creeps back in to test them. The threat is subtle at first, a stranger riding into town, a letter delivered, or whispers of old grudges, but its presence is unmistakable. This external pressure threatens not only their safety, but also the emotional foundation they've begun to build. The bride is forced to confront memories she had tried to bury, while the cowboy must navigate the complexities of protecting her without letting fear or anger cloud his judgment. The bride's past is layered with pain and betrayal. She has spent years battling a world that underestimated her, and the cruel prank that brought her to the cowboy only echoes those old wounds. Perhaps she recalls a family member who abandoned her, a former suitor who rejected her upon learning of her paralysis, or moments of public humiliation that left deep emotional scars. These memories resurface with a new threat, amplifying her anxiety and self-doubt. She questions whether her current life is merely another stage for disappointment or ridicule, fearing that her limitations might once again define her. Meanwhile, the cowboy faces societal and personal pressures. News of the couple's life at the ranch reaches the townspeople, some of whom take advantage of the situation to stir trouble. A rival rancher, an old acquaintance, or a member of the local elite may attempt to discredit him or test his resolve, seeing the couple as an easy target. The cowboy must balance his protective instincts with patience and strategy, confronting the threat without allowing it to overshadow the progress he and his bride have made. This challenge forces him to reflect on what kind of man he wants to be, reactive and hardened by fear, or courageous and steady, leading with both strength and compassion. Conflict emerges not only externally but internally. The bride wrestles with vulnerability and trust. How much can she rely on him without losing her own sense of agency? The cowboy, in turn, grapples with frustration and self-doubt. Can he truly safeguard her happiness and independence while managing the unpredictable forces surrounding them? Their growing bond is tested as they must communicate more openly, anticipate dangers together, and trust each other in ways that go beyond daily routines. The threat from the past often manifests as a dramatic event. Perhaps the ranch is endangered by a natural disaster, a trespasser, or a legal challenge that questions the legitimacy of their union. In facing this, the bride and cowboy must act as a unit. The bride contributes her insight, resilience, and problem-solving abilities, showing that her value extends far beyond what others might have assumed. The cowboy demonstrates not only physical courage but emotional intelligence, ensuring she feels secure, respected, and empowered even in the midst of danger. This phase of the story emphasizes growth through adversity. The threat forces both characters to confront lingering insecurities and societal prejudices, deepening their understanding of each other. They learn that challenges, whether from the past or the present, do not diminish their bond but can strengthen it when met with trust, communication, and mutual respect. The townspeople, who once mocked them, begin to notice the couple's resilience, their whispers tinged with grudging admiration or surprise at the unexpected strength of their partnership. By the end of, the reader sees that the cowboy and his bride have weathered a pivotal test. Their partnership has been challenged by forces outside their control, and yet they emerge stronger, more united, and more. Following the intense turning point, the cowboy and his bride enter a new phase of their journey, one where their growing confidence, resilience, and partnership allow them to rise above the prejudices of the town and the cruel expectations placed upon them. No longer defined by mockery or skepticism, they begin to assert their presence in a world that had once dismissed or ridiculed them. This stage of the story emphasizes the triumph of character, intelligence, and courage over societal bias, and illustrates how true strength is as much moral and emotional as it is physical. The town, initially delighted by the prospect of a humiliating union, has begun to take notice of the couple's competence. Observers see the bride engaging actively in ranch operations, directing tasks, contributing creative solutions, and managing aspects of daily life with intelligence and skill. She is no longer a passive participant, nor a figure of pity. She is a capable, determined partner, one whose limitations do not define her potential. Meanwhile, the cowboy's reputation evolves as well. Once seen as merely a gruff, solitary figure, he is now recognized as patient, resourceful, and deeply compassionate, a man whose strength is amplified by his care for another rather than diminished by it. Their daily routines become symbolic acts of defiance against prejudice. Neighbors and visitors watch as the cowboy navigates difficult terrain with the bride in tow, ensuring her safety while respecting her autonomy. They see her engage in tasks once thought impossible, riding horses with specially adapted equipment, managing livestock, or coordinating work with the ranch hands. Each accomplishment, small or large, chips away at the assumptions and ridicule that had once defined their public image. The couple's presence in the community becomes a living testament to resilience, courage, and collaboration. Social interactions reinforce this shift. The bride's intelligence, humor, and insight begin to draw genuine respect from those around her. Conversations once marked by snickers or judgment turn into moments of acknowledgement and even admiration. The townspeople, forced to reconcile their preconceived notions with the reality before them, slowly begin to recognize the value of seeing beyond appearances. The cowboy, by treating her as an equal rather than a liability, sets a standard for respect and partnership that challenges the community as biases and reshapes social norms in subtle but powerful ways. Internally, this stage strengthens the couple's emotional bond. They no longer rely solely on physical support or protective instincts. Trust, mutual understanding, and shared triumphs cement their connection. The bride begins to embrace her identity and abilities with confidence, understanding that her worth is not measured by her physical limitations, but by her courage, intellect, and heart. The cowboy learns that true heroism is not about reputation or brute strength, but about nurturing growth, empowering others, and rising above societal cruelty. Moments of public acknowledgement, whether a neighbor's nod of respect, a community event where they demonstrate competence, or a small victory that earns admiration, serve as markers of this transformation. These external validations are mirrored by the couple's internal triumph. Pride, self-respect, and shared joy replace the fear, shame, or anxiety that once dominated their lives. By the end of it is clear that the town's initial prejudice has been outshone by the couple as unwavering determination and integrity. They are no longer defined by the cruel joke or by the limitations others assumed. Instead, they have created a new reality, one where love, strength, and respect triumph over mockery, fear, and societal bias. This stage lays the foundation for Part 8, where the bride begins achieving extraordinary personal milestones and their story of empowerment reaches its most visible and inspiring moments. That marks a pivotal moment in the narrative, where the bride begins to demonstrate abilities and courage that exceed everyone's expectations. Until now, she has been navigating life with careful adaptation, building confidence and trust with the cowboy, and gradually earning the respect of the townspeople. This stage is the story as emotional apex. It transforms her from a figure once perceived as fragile and dependent into a symbol of empowerment, resilience, and brilliance. The revelation is both personal and public, a culmination of the effort, trust, and partnership nurtured over months of shared struggle. The revelation begins in quiet, subtle ways. Perhaps the bride masters tasks at the ranch that previously seemed impossible, like managing livestock with precision, navigating horseback riding with newfound confidence, or overseeing complex operations alongside the cowboy. These achievements demonstrate that her physical limitations do not define her intelligence, capability, or courage. Each success, no matter how small, strengthens her self-esteem, reinforces her partnership with the cowboy, and challenges the town's lingering assumptions. The townspeople, initially skeptical or mocking, start to take note, their surprise giving way to admiration. Emotionally, this stage is profound. The bride experiences a sense of liberation that goes beyond physical achievement. She feels a renewed sense of identity and self-worth, empowered by the cowboy's unwavering support and by her own determination. No longer confined by fear or self-doubt, she begins to see possibilities that were once unimaginable. The cowboy, witnessing this transformation, experiences pride and awe, recognizing that the woman beside him is as courageous, intelligent, and resilient as anyone he has ever known. Their partnership evolves from survival to inspiration, a bond where each draws strength and purpose from the other. A dramatic illustration of the revelation could occur during a public challenge and event that tests both courage and skill. For example, a dangerous situation might arise on the ranch, such as a wildfire, a runaway herd, or a perilous rescue. The bride actively participates, using her wit, planning, and observational skills to assist in resolving the crisis. Her actions astonish the community. Where they expected fear or helplessness, they witness decisiveness, bravery, and competence. This event becomes a turning point not just in how she perceives herself, but in how the wider world perceives her. The narrative shifts from one of sympathy to one of respect and admiration. The revelation also solidifies the emotional depth of their relationship. Mutual respect, trust, and love blossom in tandem with public recognition. The bride's independence and capability enhance the cowboy's own sense of purpose, while his steadfast support underscores the value of partnership over dominance. They no longer operate in a dynamic of protector and protected. Instead, they are collaborators, allies, and equals, each elevating the other in ways that defy expectation. By the end, the bride has fully embraced her strength, independence, and agency. The townspeople, once the source of ridicule and prejudice, can no longer deny her abilities or the authenticity of her character. The cowboy and his bride have transcended the initial cruelty that brought them together, creating after months of observation, trials, and remarkable displays of courage and partnership, the townspeople can no longer cling to their initial prejudices or ridicule. The cowboy and his bride have transformed the narrative imposed on them from a cruel joke into a story of inspiration, and the community begins to acknowledge it. Part 9 focuses on this shift in perception, exploring how admiration, respect, and even envy replace scorn and gossip, and how the couple's resilience challenges long-held societal assumptions about ability, partnership, and love. The change of heart is gradual, emerging in small, telling moments. Neighbors who once laughed at the idea of a paralyzed bride now see her navigating daily life with confidence, participating in ranch activities, and making decisions that affect both the household and the property. Her intelligence, humor, and courage are on full display, leaving no room for pity or derision. The townspeople begin to recognize that she is not defined by her paralysis, but by her remarkable character, insight, and determination. The cowboy's transformation is equally visible. He is no longer merely the solitary stoic rancher of local legend. He is admired for his patience, strength of character, and unwavering commitment to partnership and equality. His ability to uplift, protect, and respect the bride without patronizing her sets an example that resonates with the community. They see that his reputation is not diminished by his choice of partner but enhanced, and that true strength lies in compassion and integrity as much as in physical prowess. Public moments solidify this shift. Perhaps the town hosts a fair, cattle roundup, or social gathering where the bride's skills and courage are publicly acknowledged. She participates fully, demonstrating abilities that surprise even the most skeptical observers. The cowboy's pride is evident but not boastful. He allows her accomplishments to stand on their own. Observers exchange glances, whispering admiration where once there had been snickers. Even former critics are forced to reconsider their biases, some openly apologizing, others quietly acknowledging the couple's achievements. The emotional resonance of this transformation is significant. The bride experiences a profound sense of validation, not merely from the cowboy, but from an entire community that previously marginalized her. Her confidence and independence are reinforced, and she begins to take pride not only in her capabilities, but in the strength of her partnership. The cowboy, too, feels vindicated and fulfilled. His choice to defy cruelty and prejudice has not only strengthened his relationship, but also elevated both their lives in the eyes of the community. This stage also explores the social ripple effects of their story. Others in the town may begin to challenge their own biases, inspired by the couple's courage and respect for one another. Friends and family who had doubted the bride's worth now approach her with admiration, seeking connection and learning from the example she and the cowboy have set. The community is slowly reshaped, demonstrating how the actions of a single couple can challenge deeply ingrained prejudices and inspire meaningful change. By the end of Part 9, the couple is no longer seen as objects of ridicule or pity. They have become a symbol of strength, partnership, and resilience, admired and respected by everyone around them. The town's change of heart mirrors the personal growth the couple has experienced. They are no longer defined by limitations or the cruelty of others, but by their courage, partnership, and unwavering love. This stage sets the emotional foundation for Part 10, the story's conclusion, where the couple's triumph is fully celebrated, their love and mutual respect fully realized, and their legacy firmly established as a tale of empowerment and inspiration. The story reaches its emotional and narrative climax in Part 10. where the cowboy and his bride fully realize the life they have built together, rising above cruelty, prejudice, and limitation to achieve triumph and fulfillment. This final chapter celebrates not only their love, but also their resilience, courage, and the transformative power of partnership. It is a culmination of months of struggle, growth, and revelation, where the consequences of their perseverance and mutual respect are fully realized and visible to the world. Life on the ranch has evolved into a harmonious rhythm. The bride, once timid and self-conscious about her paralysis, now moves through her days with confidence, intelligence, and a sense of purpose. She manages the ranch alongside the cowboy, making key decisions, directing work, and taking part in the physically challenging tasks she once could only dream of attempting. Each day is a testament to her strength, adaptability, and indomitable spirit, showcasing how far she has come from the frightened woman who first arrived under the weight of a cruel prank. The cowboy, too, experiences his own transformation. No longer the solitary stoic figure defined by physical strength and independence, he has grown into a man of emotional depth, patience, and unwavering moral courage. His role as a partner, mentor, and protector is balanced perfectly with his recognition of her autonomy, and their relationship thrives on equality, respect, and mutual admiration. Their love is no longer tentative. It is bold, confident, and fully visible to all who witness it. The town, once a place of ridicule and scorn, now fully celebrates the couple. Neighbors, friends, and even former critics acknowledge the remarkable achievements of the bride and the integrity of the cowboy. Public recognition comes in various forms: a community gathering, a festival, or simple gestures of respect and gratitude. These acts affirm not only the couple's social standing but also the legitimacy and beauty of their partnership. The cruel joke that once defined the bride's entry into their lives is now an ironic contrast to the respect and admiration they have earned. Beyond public validation, the most significant triumph is personal. The bride and cowboy have built a life where love, trust, and empowerment flourish. The bride embraces her independence fully, confident in her abilities and her worth. The cowboy celebrates her achievements without overshadowing them, finding fulfillment in seeing her thrive. Their shared experiences, challenges, crises, and victories have created a bond that is unshakable, rooted in respect, loyalty, and deep affection. They have lifted each other to heights neither could have imagined alone. Symbolic moments punctuate this fulfillment. Perhaps the bride rides a horse independently for the first time, navigates the ranch terrain with skill, or takes part in a public event that once seemed impossible. The cowboy watches with pride, a quiet smile of recognition and love, understanding that their shared journey has transformed not only their own lives, but the perception of everyone around them. Their triumph is a balance of personal achievement and communal respect, a story that inspires admiration and emotional resonance. By the end of the narrative arc reaches its full resolution. The bride is no longer defined by paralysis or the cruelty of others, but by her courage, intelligence, and independence. The cowboy is recognized not just for his physical strength, but for his moral courage, compassion, and ability to uplift those around him. Together, they embody a story of triumph over adversity, prejudice, and societal expectation.